Hi, it's Chris Watkin here, and I am with the cream of the self-employed agents in the UK. You know, I've been banging on about it for the last couple of years, so I thought I'd bring the best of the best together in a webinar to talk about the self-employed agent model. We have Stepehn from London, we have Adam Day from EXP, we have Nicky Stevenson from Fine & Country, we have the inevitable Stephen Wayne from Benjamin Stevens. We have the lovely David from EastProperty, Sean Newman from Newmans and a bit of Fine & Country, and Andrew Benn from Keller Williams. And hopefully coming on, we've got Peggy from ReMax coming on if she can sort her computer out. So welcome afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to kick off. What I want us to do is I'm going to ask a question, and if someone wants to put their hand up, they put their hand up, and I will go to them, make it short and sweet. And then if you feel you've got something else to go, we'll go to you, but put your hand out, because otherwise we'll have a What's Known show. So, okay. So the first question is, if you were trying to persuade someone not to be a self-employed agent, hi Peggy.
Hi, sorry about that.
Don't worry. So you're going to put your hand up if someone wants to say anything. So the question I'm going to ask is this: if you were trying to persuade somebody not to be a self-employed agent, what would you say? This is the negative sell. So who wants to put their hand up? Sean first.
So if you are not confident in your own ability and you don't list or sell any houses, you are not going to eat. I mean, you literally will, eat what you kill. So you've got to have a proven track record and be confident in your own ability. So if you're not got all the skills that are required, it's not going to be for you.
Stephen.
I would also say, Chris, if you haven't got any budget for your own marketing, whether they be tout letters or your own social media boosting, then clearly self-employed model isn't for you.
Okay. Steve?
You need to be the 360 agent, so it's really important that you're comfortable doing everything. There's great listers, there's great salesmen, there's great progressors. Doing a self-employed model, you need to be able to be comfortable with a whole 360, and that's probably the most important thing for me.
Okay, Andrew, if you were trying to persuade someone not to go down the self-employed agency route, what would you say to them? Because
I agree with all the points that have already been said, but for me, you've got to want to run your own business. This is business ownership. This isn't just it's not another version of being an egg. So you've got to want to enjoy the pressure of that, and you've got to back yourself to go out and win business.
David from EastProperty.
Yeah, I would just echo what Andrew said, but also I think that we, from our point of view, we benchmarked what we thought made a good self-employed estate agent, and if they don't meet that criteria, then we talk them out of it, because it's a recipe for a disaster for them and for us too.
I mean, if you had say 100 agents approach you who are interested, roughly how many will actually get a desk in your proverbial agency? So let's start off with you, Steve, from MyLondon Home.
We don't actually run the full self-employed model at MyLondon Home. We run the broker model, but they're employed. So if I had 100 CVs, I'd probably even still working on an employed model, Chris, I'd probably only be looking at recruiting 2 or 3 people.
Okay. Adam, how many, you've been going now, you've got some decent numbers at EXP. What's the hit rate?
Well, if 100 agents applied, well, we're only allowing estate agents to join us. So if 100 agents applied, as long as they've got 2 years experience, then we'd probably let them in, but it would depend on, we'd make it very clear it's hard work, it's not easy, and that they've got to get down and dirty, as it were.
Do any of you take on people who are not estate agents?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Put your hands up if you do. So, okay, well, that's good. So, interesting. David B., what proportion of people who join self-employed agents are actually ex-estate agents?
Probably about 75% at the moment, but we are investigating more non-agency people, because they come with no baggage. They've got no preconceived ideas. They've got no nasty habits left over from the traditional route. So, and we found actually we've got one professional sports person, and the attraction of them is that they've got the discipline, they've got the winning mentality and the strength of character to perform and to win business.
I'd like to go to Andrew, Benn, and then Peggy afterwards. Andrew, you at Keller Williams quite famous for rattling the tin a few years ago, saying we want school mums from the school gates selling houses. What proportion of your agents, roughly, are not agents before they joined you?
Probably about 20%, Chris. We're finding that the people that are already agents that will back themselves, they've got to, clearly not be trained on how to list and sell properties. So there's an advantage there. But building on what David said, we do find that people, sports people, but particularly people from the military or a police background, again, have got great discipline for process, and they can follow a process. So if they're personable people, they enjoy meeting and talking to people and helping people, and they can follow a process, then for me, that's a good start.
Peggy, I know you've got quite a few agents, mainly in London. How many of them are non-estate agents before they joined you?
So it really depends on the offices. Depending on the location, there are some franchisees which prefer new to the business because they don't come, exactly like you said, with baggages. And because of our training program, it's much better to tell them the other path and they can execute perfectly. Because the existing estate agent is sometimes they think they know better. They won't do the activities. So I would say probably in ReMax in London is about 60% are new to the business.
Wow.
But it depends on the offices. So some offices will not recruit new to the business because they don't have perhaps the management time to really invest in the new agents.
Okay, I'd like to go to Stephen and then Stephen Wayne and then Steve Wayne then to Sean. What baggage do you think agents bring to the self-employed model, which sometimes you almost need to beat out?
I think the biggest problem with agents is they join and they believe their own hype. I had a guy from Connells and his best line was, I could turn up in a clown outfit and I'd get an instruction. And I think people take for granted how strong some of the brands they've worked for in the past. And someone who's gone and done £250,000 of business at Connells might come to us, put a face on an advert and think he's going to have all the clients who he's always dealt with. But the reality is they didn't necessarily deal with him. They dealt with the firm, or they might have dealt with his manager. So I think the biggest problem is that they think that they're going to be successful very quickly without having to put that hard work in. You also look at people who may be a little bit older, who have gone and been a branch manager, a valuer. They've got to get down and dirty when you go into this model. You've got to go back to basics. You've got to go canvassing, door knocking. You've got to do it yourself, and you've got to make that happen. And that's probably the biggest issue. The people who come in think it's going to be easy, and they forget how hard it was at the beginning.
Okay, Sean. I know you've been through a lot of wheat and chaff to get to the wheat. What would you say? What baggage do most agents bring along that you have to beat them out of them to be successful?
I think they've got to learn new skills. And the trouble with the traditional estate agents is that in the past, they're very reactive. They've been waiting for calls to come in. They're waiting for emails to come in. They're waiting for clients to walk into an office. That is not happening anymore and in the future. So when people aren't coming to you, you've got to go to them. And when people are working in an office, you can be busy all day. It's amazing how a day can go by and you're on the phone, people interrupting. Whereas when you're running your own business, there's only 2 things you need to be doing. Well, maybe there's 4 things actually. And it's listing, selling, generating business, and then negotiating offers. And you've got to learn how to generate business, which is a key skill. And in today's market, we need to be experts in marketing. Sticking a house on Rightmove is not being an expert on marketing. You've got to understand how to do videos, social media, content marketing, and business generation. So learning new skills is probably the key thing.
Okay, but some of you in this here, and I'd like to move on to basically, I would say the 2 agents here who really are both well-known brands. So we've got Nicky and David B. So Nicky, you've got the Fine and Country brand, and David, you've got the Easy brand. Do you think the brand helps the franchisees? And then don't worry, we'll come to the other guys who it's your own personal branding. So Nicky first.
I go. Yes.
What's the brand?
I think there's three elements to a brand, and you have to have all three of them. And it's your personal brand, it's the company brand, and it's the product brand. So it's a rip-off from Daniel Priestley, basically, but I believe in it. And I think that really good estate agents are brilliant on the sofa, but they need some tools and some branding, some recognition behind them to actually have that door open and to get onto the sofa in the first place, and the support that a brand can give with various tools to help them to succeed. And perhaps, like for us, it's a big network of agents internationally. You can bounce off of each other, share referrals, and learn from each other. So I think from a brand perspective, company branding is important, and knowing your niche, knowing your market that you're going for.
Okay, David, you're part of the Easy brand. I mean, that is a very well-known brand. What do you think the importance of branding is when it comes to choosing an agent to be a self-employed agent with?
I think as a self-employed agent, to have a strong umbrella, that's the thing that opens the door. The sitting on the sofa is the thing that wins the business, but you've got to get the door open in the first place. And I think, if you cast your mind back, whenever anybody gets a good review, it's always a personal review. It's always, David was really good, he was really helpful, he did this, he did the other for me. But if he did a bad job, it's not David Brierley that gets the bad review. It's EastProperty or the company over the door. So I think that you do need a strong brand to get the awareness out there amongst the consumers, and then it's up to the local person on the ground to benefit from that and develop that, and actually then create the relationship that continues through to the point where, well, for the rest of their lives, really, we've got to get away from transactional relationships and get into lifetime relationships.
Very much so. Okay, so now let's look at some brands which probably are not as nationally well known, but so let's go to Stephen. Steve, Wayne, anything you want to add in here, and then I'd like to then go to Stephen Hurd afterwards.
Yeah, for our point, obviously our guys are working off our brand. And it works as a network, because we're working in a smaller area, but we're dealing with London. So people would have come across us, and it gives someone a little bit more trust that someone can turn around and go, we've been open for 16 years. Go and have a look at our Google reviews, go and look at our all agents reviews, go and look at how many properties we've got on our books, rather than they're sort of stuck behind trying to start on their own, and they don't have that trust. And I think the brand also brings trust to it as well.
Because Stephen Hurd, you've got a well-known brand in London. I mean, what's your thoughts on branding?
Well, I think branding is a very local thing. And I imagine if you are going to be a self-employed agent, if you're going to try and be the first person in your area or your district or your town to be self-employed with that brand, you may struggle, because I think that, even in London, Stephen's in a different part of London to myself, and we don't cross at all. I think branding is hyper local. I really do.
Okay, let's move on to Andrew Benn. Andrew, you're Keller Williams. You pride yourself in the fact that you allow your agents to personal brand, and it's powered by Keller Williams. What's the thought behind that one?
Well, it can be, Chris. They've obviously got the choice of having a Keller Williams brand or a powered by brand. But building on David's piece, for me, the essence of self-employed agency is a relationship-based business rather than a transaction-based business. It's building long-term relationships and keeping in touch with people. And once you've kind of got that person and you become their go-to property person, I think that the element of brand it is your personal brand. It is you that's the most important thing. I think the secondary element of having a brand behind you may give you the tools and resources that you need, and may give the customer a bit more confidence. But frankly, for me, it's about the relationship with the individual and the customer, and that is the key dynamic for me. Okay.
Peggy, you're ReMax, which is one of the biggest worldwide estate agents, along with Keller, and other estate agents are available. What is the importance on your ReMax brand? And as I said, temper it down, because we're not here to do any individual selling.
Oh. Thanks. Well, in my opinion, I think a brand is foremost and utmost important for an agent, because if you think about it, what value are you providing as a self-employed agent? For us, of course, being the largest in the world, I have to say that, being in 115 countries, and I applaud. I joined ReMax because I didn't want to have to grow off my own company and take 30 years to build a company to get to the level of where it is now. So as a self-employed agent, having a big presence where you can get referrals, let's face it, That's everything. Because most of us probably have amazing training. Let's say, let's face it. Training you probably get from many different people, many different entities, specialists. But the network, that's powerful. So for me, the brand is foremost and really important for an agent's perspective. Because if you can go knock on the door for a vendor and say, hello, Mr. Seller, if I can sell your property and list it in all the national portals, but in addition, a global portal in 115 countries, 8,250 offices. Let's face it, that makes a big difference. And our agents use that to win instruction.
Might work in London though, but it won't work in Droitwich. But it's a good point.
It
Adam,
works in Scotland.
Oh, go on then. Adam, you're part of EXP, which again is a pretty big brand. It's not one of these American firms that come in to tell us what to do, are they? Tell us more. And what's the importance of branding? What's your stand on personal branding?
I used to be a massive fan of branding. I used to think it was really important that brand was solid, and I look back now, I don't think the brand that sits behind the agent is that important. I think, there was a reason that Hatched was good in one area and not in another area. I hark back to that. I could talk about other businesses, but it's because the individual was good. It wasn't because the brand was accepted in Hitchin and not in another town. It's because the individual was good. And the same goes for Purple Bricks. Some areas Purple Bricks are market leaders, others they're bottom of the league or very low down, even despite the tens of millions, hundreds of millions of pounds they've spent. So it's down to the individual, it's not down to the brand. This branding thing is a 20-year-old thing that was important when I started my career in '97 with a company called Country Properties, who are the biggest brand. But also the other thing is all these other brands that start up, they've all started up with nothing. They've all started with no trust. Puttrell started in Hitchin in 2002 with zero trust, zero credibility. Now they're probably one of the best agents in my hometown. And that can be said for brands all around the country. It's down to the individuals. It's not down to the brand.
Okay, so let's move on and talk about life as some people would call you the broker, the centre boss, whatever you call yourselves. Basically, I know you're not franchisors, but the head organisation. There's going to be plenty of bosses out there that are thinking, well, this is a bit of a whiz that I'm going to save myself shed loads of money. Is it a tax whiz? Are the associates going to get clobbered a load of tax that they didn't know about? Is the boss person going to get clobbered? I mean, where are we with this tax situation? Sean, you first.
There are some tax benefits of being self-employed. I know employees that have been hammered with company car tax when they're an employee, and when they're self-employed, not only do they get to choose their own car, but they can offset that against tax and then petrol and their phone and their laptop and their petrol. Anything they spend that's business related can be offset against tax. And if they're going to be VAT registered, so they might want to buy a laptop that's £1,200. The real price of that laptop is £1,000 plus VAT. So you're paying 200 quid to the government. As a self-employed person, you can claim that £200 back. So it's £1,000 and maybe claim 30 or 40%, depending on your tax bracket, of the cost of that laptop back. So some agents there are definitely some tax benefits of being self-employed.
Anyone else? Nicky? Oh,
you're on mute.
Thanks. We've had lots of conversations with lawyers recently about this, and I think if you're a business owner looking to go down the route of recruiting self-employed associates, there are criteria that need to be in place and certain processes to make sure you are on that right side of HMRC. Because if you decided tomorrow to just say to all of your employees, you're going self-employed, IR35 is an issue. They've delayed it to April next year, obviously, but you have to be sensible and take legal advice on it, because it's not just simply anyone can join, be self-employed, here you go. There are definitely relevant steps as a business that you've got to put in place to protect yourself.
Okay, Andrew, you put your hand up.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a misnomer here. There may be some tax benefits here, but you still want to pay tax as being part of a responsible society. The benefits of this aren't about tax. It's about having a bit more autonomy, owning something that you can control. I just think that taxes, it shouldn't be, if people are watching this trying to decide whether being self-employed is for them, I don't think tax should be one of their decision-making criteria.
Anyone else?
I remember when I was a junior back in the day, and my old area manager used to turn around to me and say, if you're paying tax, you're selling houses.
Anyone else? Oh, okay. The next question is one of the criteria of whether you're self-employed or employed is whether you're allowed to work for someone else. What in the property related feature in the world, and PB are quite famous for it, allegedly. Of course, I have to say the word allegedly, for not allowing you to work for any other property related business. Where do you stand with your associates with regard to that? I'm going around all of you, so you might as well get your answers ready. David.
Yeah, I mean, ours is very clear. I mean, we have a clear license agreement for people to operate in certain prescribed postcode areas, and they're running that business. If they decide that they want to do something else as part of that, that's entirely up to them. We don't restrict them from doing that. I mean, most of them would be silly to do it because at the end of the day, they've got a business which they're building, which will have some shareholder value to them and whoever else is involved in that. So you know, that's the way we operate.
Stepehn.
Our brokers are employed brokers, and contractually they're not allowed to work in any other form at all while they're with us.
Okay, so when you say they're employed, they act like self-employed, but you actually employ them.
Yeah, they still get basic salaries, and we are really heavy on lead generation for them. But we're running a broker model, so it's cradle to grave. They're responsible for their own listings and for taking those clients all the way through to completion with our guidance. So there's lots of similarities between what we're doing and what the other guys are doing, but we are still an employed model, and commissions they start lower and then stagger upwards.
Anyone else do a similar model to that, or are you all totally self-employed if you kill what you eat? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else got anything to say about working in another patch? Put your hands up.
Oh.
Go, Peggy.
So I don't know how everyone else works, but our agents can go anywhere as long as they can service the clients. And that's the most important point, because I don't see how it's possible if my father wants to sell a property and I live, just say, in South London, and the company is stopping me from selling in North London, because the relationship is there. Typically what we would do is we'll do a joint agency in North London. So we don't have patches. We can literally go everywhere, and our agents can do other businesses, but they can't sell with other agencies.
Okay, does anyone else got anything to talk about with regard to territories and things like that? Steve, and then Sean.
So our guys are sort of focused on an area, but they're not exclusive to an area. So what you want from my point of view, you want people going out and working an area, becoming, as you know, the local digi-mayor of the area, really working on community. But what I wouldn't want to do is, if you've gone and built up a relationship with a client, what you wouldn't want to do is turn around to them and go, you can't sell that house. So our guys have got an area which they're focusing on, but they're not exclusive. If you've got a client who you've been dealing with for years, why should you have to hand it over to someone else?
Sean?
Same answer as Steve, really. You know, most of them have a core area that they focus on, but there's no restriction. They can list it with anywhere within reason, but there's no point going to an area where they don't know the prices and they can't look after that client. So it just makes sense. If it is another area and it is a long way away, then there's the same way that someone else said earlier, that they would work with another agent in that area.
Okay, anyone else got anything to say before I move on? Nikki, and then Andrew. Nikki first.
Yeah, same as Sean and Steve, and our agents will have a core area of focus which isn't exclusive, but for us, part of the conversation and the onboarding is to look at the size of the opportunity. So every single associate has quite a thorough conversation. We'll look at the area they want to focus on, the number of transactions that take place in a year in the upper quartile market, so that we can make sure the size of the opportunity is big enough, and we will only have a certain number of associates in each area, so that there is always enough opportunity for each associate to succeed.
I think Andrew, Andrew, you put your hand up, did you?
Yeah, I'm just gonna agree with a lot of the other people here that, you know, we focus on an area, but an agent can sell a property anywhere they wish. But going back to a point Peggy made, they've got to be able to service that person. If they can't, we'd encourage them to refer them to another agent in our network.
It's interesting. I used to be national sales manager for Belvoir Lettings, and we actually spent a week going through every single patch in terms of the number of households, chimney pots there were, versus the turnover. And you would expect that the turnover would increase as the number of households increased. But actually, there was a magic sweet spot around 40,000 households. And actually, after 40,000 households, the bigger the patch, the less they earned. So actually, people wanting bigger patches, actually, they can actually end up earning less. Okay, let's move on to the reason you're here, boys and girls, is that you're here to earn money. Is all of you will take between 60 and 30% of the fee in return for giving something in return. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to start with Adam first. I don't want to talk percentages because that's up, because I think it's not fair to talk percentages because it's up to people to find it out. Because I tell you here and now, those that offer you the most percentage offer you less in return. There's nothing like there's no free dinners here. Adam, what do you actually get for your money as a self-employed agent with your firm without mentioning it?
So we help the agent to become compliant. We help the agent to get onboarded. We give them a CRM out of the box CRM where you can add your applicants and your viewings and your offers and all that stuff.
Because it's going to be boring as hell, actually.
Oh, I know.
Okay then. So put your hand up if you get 2 of the 3 main portals. Oh, so we all get portals. Okay. CRM system. Good, and we like that. What about professional indemnity insurance, or is that responsibility? Okay. Client money protection. Okay, but they can sort themselves. Those that didn't put their hand up, do you give people help? Put your hand, nod if you do. Okay, that's good. Okay. What about being part of a redress system? If you don't do it, do you help the person do it? Nod your head if you do. Good. What about training? What does good training look like? Now, again, Adam, you're famous for your Sims virtual reality thing, which is all groovy stuff. Tell us in 30 seconds what that's all about.
Well, the Sims thing is a virtual world. It's our EXP campus where people can come and learn and collaborate and train and network with each other. So we have a virtual auditorium where people can come and people can present on the stage, which you've presented on before, Chris, and we can do more. The one with the beard, he does a training session on how to be a rock star on social media in the virtual world, explains all his slides, and I do lots of other training sessions on lead generating and winning the instruction, the perfect valuation, and lots of other sessions like that. Is that 30 seconds?
That's lovely. Sean, you're next. What do you offer your lot?
Well, obviously we're ongoing. I was doing 2 training sessions this morning for different teams. So it's ongoing. So our model, and like everyone else in the room, virtual room, is we're here to provide all the help, support that agents need, whether that's marketing, training, and whatever it is they need, we're here. And training is obviously an important part of that. We pay for online training with outsourced a trainer and coach and mentor, so provide that in-house. Also, we help each other. We're learning and constantly growing and improving and adapting. And there's lots of this. Learning's the key core value of our business.
Okay, Stephen Wayne.
So ours is a little bit different to everyone else. Of course, we train and training's there for everyone, but I think our USP with the training is people have me. I've gone and opened a business at 22 years old. 16 years later, we're market leaders in 4 areas. I know how to build a business. I know how to, and I've done it all. And I think the thing with us is we do a lot of on-site training. We do a lot of mentorship and a lot of back and forth with people, and it's a lot more personable. So we don't have the big, maybe organized training, but what we've got is we've got real life. I've done it. And I think that's for someone coming in to do this, that can't be replicated.
Okay. Peggy, what training do you give?
Okay, so sure. So we start initially with a 5 days initial basic training, and that includes lead generation, everything about the company, including working with applicants, working with sellers, landlords, as well as legislation, both lettings and sales, and then IT, CRM system, and the whole platform of ReMax. Thereafter, we go into an 8 weeks training program, and it's split into 2 halves. And the training is typically half a day every Monday. And then the trainees, or shall I say the agents, then go off and do the job on the job training, basically. Almost like an apprenticeship. And then they come back and they feed their results. And based upon, and this is all over the offices. So they all get together and they'll see some agents who are new getting results. So we've had a rookie, 20 years old, come in, and he was competing with a 15-year-old industry person, and he was getting all the listings. And so in an environment like that, they learn from each other, but they also see what's possible. Because the number one problem, I think, in this industry is fear. So when you put a group of people together, it breaks the fear because they see what's possible. Because the first thing you're going to see is that guy that looks like a person that can't really make it. He gets all the business. And typically the other agents are going, oh my God, how is he getting the business? So then he then goes away and starts doing the activities. Okay. So if they then pass the 8 weeks, they then go on to an advanced training, which is typically from Tom Ferry or Brian Buffini or Richard Robbins. We also have a trainer, in-house trainer that does experienced agents training. We do that every Thursday. Now we're going to be doing it via Zoom or webinar as well.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to Nicky. What are you giving in return to all the stuff we mentioned before?
So there's lots. I mean, it's a question that I could talk about for hours, to be honest. But in terms of training, well, no, exactly. We're on limited time here. We have got 4-day boot camps. We've got online training. We've got knowledge hubs. But I think ultimately where our training is different is that it's designed for people that have got basic estate agency experience, and we're trying to, through our training, share all of the tools that are available within the Fine and Country Members Hub and how to use them so that our agents can be up and running as quickly as possible and positioning themselves to generate a 2 to 2.5% fee, as well as an upfront marketing contribution. So our training is very much designed on that, really, being successful, using the tools that are available to go out there and win business in that upper quartile marketplace and charge an appropriate fee for the level of service and exposure of their property that's going to be provided.
Okay, let's move on to Andrew Benn from Keller Williams. You are very, very famous for your training. In fact, you call yourself a training firm who sells houses. So what do you lot offer?
We try and give the agents everything they're going to need. So if you're brand new, then you'll get training all the way from literally registering an applicant. If you're experienced, you can pick and choose. We'll have a schedule of a combination of face-to-face training, Zoom training. Each market centre will have their own leadership team that will offer coaching sessions and consulting sessions each month for each agent. So we'll try and tailor it to whatever that person needs to help them grow their business and take them on a journey of that business growth.
Okay, let's go to David B and then finally Stephen Hurd.
Yeah, we're fairly similar to what Andrew's just said. We're doing live webinars. We're doing one-to-one over Zoom training. We started with classroom training, but to be honest with you, I think the attention span of most people, and particularly estate agents, is probably 30 minutes in a training room. And if you put them in there for 5 days, it's completely, what you did on Monday has been forgotten by Tuesday, and so it rolls on. So we've changed that, and we use knowledge. We use a knowledge hub, which we've found really good, actually, and it gives people the opportunity to go back to. We know when they've looked at it, we can test them, we can see what they're doing. It's got all the compliance issues in there, and I think, you know, but it is an evolving process, and you know, depending upon their experience, it depends how much nurture and care that they need. And we've got people around the country who will do one-to-ones every morning for half an hour, like a bit like a morning meeting, but much more productive than a morning meeting, and just growing it according to their needs.
Stephen Hurd?
Well, because of where we are in central London, Chris, we have a need to have brokers who are really excellent on a technical level as well as other areas of the industry. So we're running NAEA level 3 and 4 in residential sales, because we find that takes our brokers to the next level. The next area we focus on quite heavily is the success training. I think, as Peggy said, the activity based, because most of the time we're finding, particularly when we're employing brokers from who've come in from elsewhere in the industry, it's actually themselves holding themselves back. It's their lack of activity or their lack of acknowledgement of what they need to do to actually be successful that's stopping them earning the amazing money. And we've got some huge commissions in central London, and by giving them the technical support, but also then unplugging that, they can go off and earn big bucks.
Okay, next question. You put your hand up if you've got something interesting to say. Is I have a red hot valuer and a lister who's come from Harty Connellsy, William H. Brownie, LSL, whatever they're called this week, countrywide, who is red hot valuer, who is, Adam says, or I think it was Stephen, put a clown outfit on and they put it on the market. Does all the training, you know, there's doing training and there's doing training, and then doesn't perform. How do we make that person accountable?
I'll start saying no one's.
Go for it, Stephen.
I think you've got to treat them, and we use the word partner. You've got to work with them. You've got to understand, you know, very much what they want to achieve and hold them accountable. And almost when they join, they need to set down where they want to be, what they want to achieve, and also why they want to achieve it and why they're making the move. And you've also got to remember it's about a choice of lifestyle as well. So you need to find out, some people will come from a corporate and end up going home and just working from home and sitting in front of the TV all day. So it's about taking them aside and actually caring about what they're trying to achieve and helping them achieve it.
Andrew, Ben?
Yeah, building on what Steve said there, for me, it's very much, or for us, it's very much a partnership. And before you can hold someone accountable, you need to get their permission to hold them accountable against their goals. So it's really important you talk through, what is it you want to achieve? How are you going to do it? What does that look like on a weekly basis? And then get their commitment to do that and hold them accountable to their goals. And I find that's something that is particularly valuable, that people who are used to working in an environment where they've got a boss and a one-to-one, is that discipline and being held that accountable. So I think that's a big part of what we do.
Okay, Sean next, and then David B afterwards.
You muted, Sean.
Was that? I've unmuted myself. So yeah, I totally agree with what the other colleague said. So I would say this: the business relationship is completely different. I'm not a boss. I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. I'm here for more of a support, and as the other guy said, it's sort of more of a coaching. Everyone's got to have their own. I'm here to help them achieve their goals, achieve a certain income level, and a certain lifestyle. So it's really a different relationship than a boss telling people what to do. It's more of a coach and a helping support role.
Okay. David B?
Yeah, I think, I mean, our selection process is very much based on what they want to achieve, and if their goals aren't mutual, then it's probably not going to work for either of us, because we do need each other to make this partnership work. But also part of their onboarding process is that we get them, or with them we prepare a 100-day plan, so that they've got 3 months when they know exactly what it is that they've got to do, and you know, they've got ownership of it, they've written it, we've supported them and questioned them over it, and so if they can get going over the first 3 months, then the chances are they've got some momentum and they will continue.
Okay, I mean, let's be all frank, most of you are coming in at probably a couple of £100 a month, aren't you? And for that you get all the support, the guidance, the portals and most things. Okay, so assuming that that's about right, because that's about right, isn't it? Everyone nod, it's a couple of £100-ish, isn't it? Yeah, that's what we're talking. What's holding people back? The fact that they're probably not going to earn for 6 months, and they might have to borrow 10 grand on the credit card. What fear is holding them back, and what can we do to alleviate that fear, boys and girls? Hands up time. Stephen, then Sean.
Look, it's like opening a business. You know, you've got to make that jump and that commitment. You know, we have a lot of people who turn around and go, oh, will you support us for the first 3 months? And my answer is, well, if I'm doing that, you might as well stay employed with me, because that's the pain. And it's got to be a mutual, we're in it together. We're you know, and the money which we're all asking for as a support, none of us, we're all losing money off of that. So we're taking a commitment to you, and it needs to work both ways. If you were coming into a 50-50 partnership with me, you have to make that jump. So it has to be, you know, like with anything, you know, what do they say? To live like, you've got to do things that no one else will do to live a life no one else ever will. You have to make that jump. You are becoming a business person. You're becoming an entrepreneur. So you have to take a little bit of a risk.
Sean?
Yeah, they have to have skin in the game. Other companies do provide a monthly retainer for the first 3 months, and I've seen people go to those companies and literally say to me, Sean, I'm going to this company, they're paying me for the first 3 months, so I'm just going to use that time to plan my next move, and they're not committed. So they've got to be prepared to invest in themselves, back themselves, and have some skin in the game. And that's, if they've got that belief and confidence in their ability, I think I've done it when I set my business, and anyone who sets up a business has to sort of invest in themselves, and then they're committed, really.
Andrew, Benn.
Yeah, Chris, thanks. Look, our model is absolutely a model of business ownership. All right, you can't think about going into business ownership without making an investment in your business. It's going to take time and effort and hard work to grow it. All right, but if you back yourself to do that, within 6 to 12 months' time, you could be in a very different place you are today. But it isn't going to happen overnight, and it isn't going to be easy. And you've got to want that. And as I said, this isn't for everyone, but for the people this is right for, it's life-changing.
Anyone else got anything to say? Adam, and then Peggy.
I think the question was, how do we overcome that and help agents to overcome that sort of initial period? And I think, having only been doing this for 6 months, I think it's time and social proof. If we don't show as a group of agents and the bosses, leaders, whatever you want to call us, of self-employed agency, if we don't have multiple people going out there being successful over the course of the next 6 to 12 months, because it's only really started to take off in the last 6 to 12 months, I would say. Sean's obviously been at it for a long time and is the master and the grandfather of this model, I would say, in the UK. But social proof is so important, because if agents don't see other agents being successful within these models, then they won't join. So your question was about how do we get them to overcome it, and I think it's social proof.
Peggy?
Well, I think the question that we should really ask is that in the self-employed model, typically only about 80% of the people will not be right for this industry. And I don't think it's possible to convince or overcome this particular point, because the reality is that there will be many people who do fail. And I think as mentors, we have to be a little bit responsible to ensure that we don't take agents on who will fail just because of the monthly fees. And I think because this will backfire. I mean, for example, in ReMax, we don't have monthly fees to start with. We do once they hit a higher percentage. But we do that because it's a true partnership. Because I think sometimes when somebody's lead generating and they're developing the business and you have monthly fees above them, it could really be strangling. And I see this in agents, where agents should be on the higher fee model, they become crippled with just monthly fees.
David B.
We really need to balance this.
Yeah, I think one of our sort of criteria is that we need to see proof of funds that people have got, to see them through 3 or 4 months trading, or even just to look after their domestic affairs. Because the moment they start looking over their shoulder because they haven't got enough money is the time they take their eye off the ball and go off and do something else. So we're quite strict, and we accept that we're going to lose quite a lot of people because of that. But as Peggy said, and I think others have said, we have a duty to make sure that we're not encouraging people out of employed roles just because we want a bum on a seat in an area. We've got to act responsibly, because that's the way we all build brands, and that's the way we build a new industry with a professional image, and one that Adam says that people want to join, and I agree with that.
What has anybody learnt about bringing people on? What I'm trying to say is, what do you wish you knew now, which you know what I'm trying to say, I can't get my words out. What do you wish you knew then that you know now in terms of bringing people on board?
I'd say we've changed our recruitment process. We have a very thorough and long-winded process, and as David said, we want to make sure it's right for them more than it's right for me. Because if someone joins and they're not successful, it probably won't make any difference to me. To them, it's their life, it's their mortgage, it's their relationship, it's their future, it's their kids, it's everything. And I've got, like David said, a responsibility to them, and I would put their interests first. And now we have a very long recruitment process, not from our benefit, but for theirs, so they can see that whether they're the right people or not, and they're going to be successful. And now I feel I can clearly identify if people are going to be successful. So that's quite an important learning, the recruitment process.
Anyone else?
We've
yeah, go for it, Steve, and then Nicky afterwards, and then David B after that.
We've obviously got a normal model which runs alongside the hub model, and it's interesting that You know, the last 18 months since we've been running this, we've learned, I could write 4 books about where we've gone wrong and what we've done wrong. You really got to get inside people's heads and understand why they're doing it. Some people are doing it because they don't want bosses, and that's the wrong way. You've got to have people who want the same as your brand. And, you know, for us, I've spent a long time building a brand. What I don't want is someone to come and ruin it. So you've got to make sure that their ethics especially align with yours and their morals are in the right place, that they want to build a business, not just about money, but, you know, being proud of where they are and what they're building.
Nicky?
So I think people that want to start their own business, they've got options, haven't they? They go and start their business in the normal sense of the way, and they need tens of thousands of pounds or hundreds of thousands of pounds, or they look at this type of model and it's a greater investment of time, but you need to have that cash in the bank to keep you going. But I think we're in a period of time where there is a shift in society and people want different things. And I've got some stats here from the Deloitte Millennial Survey from 42 countries, 13,500 millennials, and half of them basically said that they will quit their job over the next 2 years, which is up from 38% in 2017. So basically half the worldwide millennials won't be in today's role in 2 years' time. And why? Because they put such a big emphasis on pay and financial rewards. 43% said that would be the biggest reason. And I think in our sector, in the UK, we are the most underpaid estate agents across the world. So that, I think, is a big factor. And also 22% are dissatisfied with flexibility in the workplace. And that echoes Josh Rayner's survey that he did recently. I think it was bang on 22% as well in his survey, that people will be wanting more flexibility. So I think people are after these things. And so, yes, I think there's an element of fear in holding people back. But with everything that we're going through now, I think people will be more open-minded to this way of working and thinking that actually, this is what I want. This is what I want my future to be. I want this flexibility. I want to be in more control, opportunity to earn a decent income, which for a long time, estate agents haven't had the opportunity to do.
Okay, David?
Yeah, I think what surprised me, particularly recruits or applicants that we've had from the high street, and particularly corporates, is how naive, and I mean that politely, they are about the use of technology, what the consumer looks for, and actually their naivety about what it takes to run a business. And they think because they can list 10 properties a week that they're going to be great business people, but actually the two don't necessarily go together.
I agree, because there's plenty of valuers that can convert on the sofa, but how many of them actually got themselves on the sofa there in the first place? Not many at all. A lot of people say self-employed agency won't work because the fees aren't high enough. Is that bunkum? Sean?
Well, we've got a number of agents charging 2.5% or 2%. And people, the sellers are prepared to pay it because they're sick to death of poor standards and poor service and poor results. So fees are, it's being able to offer people better, well, service is the wrong word, because everyone will say we offer good service, but it's the marketing, it's the getting a better price for their property, it's the being available 7 days a week and in the evenings. But it's quality over quantity, and if you're providing a good result for people, they're prepared to pay it. In fact, a good agent will end up getting probably 5% more on the sale price of the property than a poor agent or an average agent. And if you're paying an extra 1%, you're actually 4% better off. So are prepared to pay it. And we could just finish quickly that it's great to hear everyone in this virtual meeting and how so much time has been spent on training, because I believe that will just raise the standards of estate agency in the UK, and along with raising those standards will raise fees as well, and then people will earn more money.
I'll go to Andrew, Ben, and then Stephen Wayne.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I think I take exactly the opposite view to that. I think that it's because of the bespoke personal nature of the service we deliver, it's actually a better service that people will get from let's say a mass market brand, and will be paid more for it. I spoke to somebody recently, just a quick story, but he talked about a vendor when great guy, and the vendor said, will I be dealing with you now? And he had to say, no, I'm afraid not. You'll be dealing with my junior negotiator back in the branch, because they deal with it. And my point to him was, would that vendor have paid more to deal with you from start to finish My belief is yes.
Steve Wayne?
Your question was, is this model flawed because of fees? No, it's completely opposite. You look at in where I am, our average property is maybe £500,000, 1.5%, 7.5 grand a time. You sell 2 properties a month, that's £15,000, £180,000 a year, and most of us would probably paying out 50%. That's 90 grand for selling 2 houses a year. You go and work for a corporate and you sold that level of houses, you'd probably earn 40 grand at best.
So would you say that estate agency is flawed because of the employed model and the fact that fees have been slowly dropping since 2004? Interestingly, a lot of people blame purple bricks. That actually
good agents will get their fees up. And the reality is, the biggest problem, and I know Sean's a big believer with me on this, the biggest problem with estate agency, we don't have enough good people wanting to do this business anymore. And the reason why is because they can't earn enough money. And the problem is, an estate agency, which is a traditional model, can't have people on 40 grand salaries, basic, and then go and earn. So this is a way that people really truly can make 80, 100, 150 grand a year. And once we have proof of concept, which will hopefully be in 6 months, 12 months, the industry is going to change massively and very, very quickly.
Okay. Peggy, make it quick, please.
Can we talk about fees? Or, are we allowed to disclose what agents earn or not?
You can if you want.
I think in this particular model, for the right individual, they can earn a lot of money. We have agents who earn $500,000 every year. In the suburbs, typically they earn about 85,000 every year. So it can work.
I think the biggest thing is, let's bring this conversation to a close, unless someone's got anything red hot to say, is that I'm of the opinion that the self-employed agency model is the right model for some people. I think it will be great for clients because you can offer more of a personal service. It's not for everyone. It's quite scary. And I just like everybody to come together in the industry like we're doing now and kind of just wave the flag. There's going to be some people out there that will be dissenting voices who've been through and not enjoyed it and not been good enough. And I think people have to ignore those, don't they? And make their own decision. I'd like one sentence from you all about someone who's sat on the fence, worried, putting it all on the line. Should they or shouldn't they? Adam first.
Well, yeah, so we've got a guy in Watford called Joe Rylett who was sat on the fence for 14 years with an independent agent, one of the best independent agents in that area. Sat on the fence. He's joined us now. He's got a pipeline of 24,000 quid, even in the middle of coronavirus. And he would say, and he would definitely post it as the best thing he's ever done in his entire estate agency career. So, it's following that sort of lead that I think people have to look at.
Stephen Hurd.
We've got some brokers who've just done their first year with us. One with 7 years experience, one with 15 years experience for corporate agents. And they both earn over £100,000 in their first year with us. So I would say take the plunge, get out of corporate and do it.
To be honest with you, the best advice I can give you is go to a nurse. This is what Gary Vee says: go to a nursing home, because people always regret what they didn't do. People never regret what they did do. David, a final sentence. David Brierley. Oh, David B. Hello.
Oh, sorry. You've come back. Yeah, no, you've come back. Sorry, you disappeared. I was there. Yeah, to some extent, if they're sitting on the fence, it's probably too late. But I think what I would say to them is, if you're sitting on the fence, you've got to get off one side or the other. Come and see what it's like. We'll look after you. We'll get you into a situation where your work-life balance is probably better than it was before.
Nicky.
I was just looking up some stats. We had an interview with one of our associates, Terry, the other day actually, and he quit his job. He did 32 market appraisals in the first 2 months, 18 listings. I couldn't find the conversion to instructions, but the average fee was 2.3%. Sean might know, but he's basically been earning 6 figures since he made that jump. So absolutely no regrets.
Is he happy? He's bloody ecstatic.
Yeah, if you look at his Facebook, it's inspiring. Everybody, should follow him. But I think I said to you in one of our original interviews, Chris, that from my perspective, fear lasts a second, but regret lasts forever. And I think, you know, these are the sorts of things that you need to think about when you're on your deathbed and you look back on your life and think about all the things that you didn't do. Take fear out of it and step into the unknown, get outside your comfort zone and see what you're capable of achieving.
Peggy, final sentence.
I'll probably say something along the lines where yes, maybe it doesn't work out, but can you imagine if it did? What if it did work out? Where shall I be then?
Andrew, Benn.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I would say to them, do the research and make sure they are. But if you would back yourself to go out and we can generate one market appraisal a week, just one a week, then the chances are this will be life-changing for you. And just as long as you've got enough money and you've got a strong model to follow, then go for it.
Steve Wayne.
I think the worst case scenario for someone is in 3 months you can walk away and realise, but give it a go. You know, 3 months is no time, and you can tell very quickly if it's for you. You know, the reality is if you're doing it for someone else, and this is when I was younger, you can do it for yourself. And I think if you can sell someone else's dreams, you can sell your dream a hell of a lot easier.
Final word to Sean Newman.
I think if someone's sitting on the fence at the moment, I would say do the research, find out more. There's lots of misunderstandings and miscommunications and misconceptions. So talk to the people on this webinar and other people, speak to some of their agents. But when you find out all the information and then work out if it's right for you, I will help someone decide if it's right for them, and they can use all that information and start planning now. Even if it's not right now, you could start planning for 6 or 12 months time. I can tell you that people that have gone through this have said it's life-changing. That's a common feedback for me, and it is literally changing their whole life, their income and their lifestyle, and a lot of them have said it's the best thing they've ever done. So there's a whole new world out there that most people are completely unaware of, and I would just start finding out a bit more, put your feelers out, do a bit of research, and it could be the best thing that you've ever done. But I wouldn't let someone start unless I felt it was right for them. It isn't right for everybody.
I'd like to thank everyone today for their time and effort. As I said, for the last couple of years, I've been banging on about self-employed agencies. I'm not paid by anyone to bang this. I just genuinely believe it's the right thing for some people. I think it's it's great for clients because you get, you know, someone from start to finish. It's great for agents. They can enjoy their job more. They can spend more time with their kids. They can earn more money and be happier. Yeah, there's a risk involved, but to be honest with you, I'd rather, you know, if you're in your 30s, you are going to be working for the next 40 years. And to be honest with you, when you're employed by one person, you're actually still self-employed. You're only just employed by one person. At least with being a self-employed agent, you have the chances of working for many, many people. Set it out, make that jump, because if you don't, someone else will. And the last thing you want to be doing is a miserable swine when you're 60 or 70 regretting life. Do it, enjoy it, open your eyes. Might not be for you, but it could be for you. And as Nicky said, what have you got to lose? Thank you for your time today, ladies and gentlemen. At the end of this video, there'll be a link to over 50 videos about the self-employed model with lots of stories from different agents. You can contact all these people, lovely people here, and contact and see if they're for you. I have no preference on which one you go for, but for God's sake, stop assuming, stop reading shit on bloody property industry by those twats that come up with those silly bloody comments. Do your own bloody homework. Ask people who've been self-employed agents, ask them the truth, ask them, would you do it again? Ask them everything and make your own bloody decision, because you're a big boy now or a big girl, and stop reading shit on the bloody internet. I love you all. That's Watkin Rant over.
Bye.
Bye.